Do I need to record too?
No.
Okay.
All right, so we're live. You can head anytime you want.
All right. Hey, everybody. Evan and Corinne here. And we figured, because Zoom is so popular these days, we figured we would come live and direct with a market update and kind of let you guys know and fill you in on sort of what we see happening, what was happening in the past, and sort of what to expect in the future, just kind of based on our experience. So do you have anything to add to that before we take it away?
Yeah, no, I think, why don't we start with giving sort of an overview of the market leading up to COVID. So what
Sure.
were we seeing right before, I'd say, the second week in March?
I think the biggest trend that we were seeing, inventory was at like a historic low.
Yeah.
And so, there wasn't a lot of properties for people to choose from. It was right at the beginning of what was going to be a super busy spring market.
Mm-hmm.
We were seeing, all sorts of multiple offer scenarios, bidding wars, lots of people at open houses. Everything was really competitive. Even with sort of the news that, the coronavirus, COVID-19 was on its way here. It didn't really slow things down until the lockdown went into place.
Yeah.
You had some buyers that you were working with too that kind of had some similar situations and whatnot too.
Yeah, I think when things first started, we were still seeing quite a few number of people visiting open houses. And as you said, multiple offer situations. There's absolutely still a demand out there.
Yep.
And the inventory, which was relatively low, as you mentioned, has only gotten smaller.
Right.
But those buyers, some of them maybe have gone away or sort of put things on pause, if you will. But for the most part, there's still a good number of folks out there that are very serious and still looking.
There's a lot of, I think what's interesting too about, we work with buyers and sellers, so we sort of see both ends of the spectrum, if you will. And I think one of the things you and I were talking about yesterday was that the number of buyers is reduced, the number of homes is reduced, but that demand comparatively is still high, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen that a lot of the buyers that were out there before may have been on the fence, like thinking about buying, may have put their search on hold. While other buyers sort of see this as an opportunity to get in and maybe they can get some deals. So, and then you have your people that absolutely have to move anyway. So
yeah,
still, it's not bad. It's really not bad out there. It's just things are limited in sort of how we approach the selling side of things. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really good segue into sort of our next point. Let's talk about some of the changes that we've seen in the past few weeks. Now that COVID-19 is out there and we've got these stay-at-home mandates from the governor, sort of how has that been affecting the real estate market from your perspective?
Well, like you said, a good segue. And I think the most important thing to sort of pay attention to, buyers are fewer, but they are serious.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, there are some people that are looking for deals, and this sort of a scenario kind of is a good opportunity for people to kind of test the market in terms of who's willing to deal and who isn't. But besides that, the majority of the buyers that are out there are serious. They either have to move, need to move, or I don't know if you're like me, my house is feeling smaller and smaller every day. So maybe people are looking to kind of, look for bigger houses and a little bit more elbow room,
There was an article in the Boston Globe this week. I don't know if you saw it, but is this going to result in a mass exodus from, urban centralization? Are people going to want to just get a little more room, a little more land, a little more space after all of this?
Totally. I tell you, there's no better time to be selling the suburbs than right now. I mean, I can't even imagine, seriously. And I'm kind of like, joking when I say this, but like if you lived in an apartment or if you lived in like a small condo,
I know.
how would you manage? I can't even imagine,
I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are doing it, and I'm sure they love it. But I did have a similar conversation with a neighbor across the street yesterday, because I've spent about 90% of this time in our yard.
Yeah.
And our ongoing joke is everybody's yards are going to look immaculate.
Yeah, right.
After all
Exactly.
of this. It's just, yeah.
It's funny, normally most times of the year you hate doing yard work.
Yeah.
And now it's like, give me something to do.
I know.
So, very real.
Yeah. But I think that goes back to the point too, you were mentioning there are fewer buyers out there, but the ones that are shopping are very serious. And, some folks have said, well, why would you want to move now that I've been talking to them? There's a whole host of reasons that people need to move. And a lot of those reasons are still out there despite what's happening. So, so you never know anybody's motivation for buying or selling. As you said, maybe for some of the inventory that's been on the market a little while, there might be an opportunity to, take advantage of getting a deal or a better price if they're really looking, to get it off the books. Or, I mean, there are chances for opportunity out there right now. So I don't think it should kind of go to the wayside.
I think one other thing from a buyer perspective, sort of an advantage to a buyer right now, is because you don't have the open houses and you don't have all the traffic, those sort of crazy bidding war scenarios are not happening. There are still properties going over asking. We just put a condo under agreement in Somerville and it did go over asking. But, by a little bit, not by like 30 grand, 40 grand, 60 grand.
Like we were starting to see in February, March. Right.
So I think pricing is definitely a bit more realistic. And I think that, sellers may not be hitting that sort of, lottery home run type of deal. But they are getting fair prices for their house. So that's all good.
No, that's good to know. And I think that kind of speaks to the two key points we always talk about when selling a house. It's really all about pricing and marketing. So do you have the right price, and do you have the right marketing strategy? Are you hitting the right target audience? And I think that's something that's really shifted quite a bit over the past couple of weeks with COVID-19 and the stay-at-home order. I think that a lot of people obviously are turning more to digital technology, whether it's, using Facebook Live, Instagram, IGTV, YouTube, whether
Zoom.
you're doing, Zoom, all sorts of virtual tour options. I know we had talked about some of the things that you've gotten lately were those 3D goggles where, people could kind of do those virtual tours through a home, but just different ways to help people sort of keep that secure boundary in place if they'd like while they're still looking. But it does prove that it's really all that much more important right now to get amazing photography, videography, and make sure that you're working with a group that can really elevate the profile of your home in a digital platform.
Right. I think one nice thing is, we pride ourselves on being sort of technologically advanced, and we use the best photographers, the best videographer, et cetera.
Best drone.
Best drone. But I think we were sort of ahead of the game in that aspect, which was great. So we're not really playing catch up, but I know that there's a lot of people playing catch up, and, trying to sort of figure all that stuff out, which can be daunting. And it's nice that, it kind of has been an easy transition for us because we do that stuff all the time.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of anybody's time, but let's just hit on a couple things that I know we're going to be focusing on moving forward. We've talked about financing, how that has changed quite a bit in the past couple of weeks, and sort of what to keep an eye out on going forward. What are the ones that you're really focused in on with regards to financing?
Financing is the biggest one. And so especially when it comes to the jumbo loans.
Yeah.
So I know that, the bank requirements are changing every single day. So, any information that I give today is not going to be the same tomorrow. And so I think that if anybody is, thinking about buying a home, I think they want to definitely connect with one of the top mortgage brokers. We have, great ones that we work with, and we'd be happy to pass their information along. But it's really important, especially right now during this sort of probably the next month, I would think, to really stay on top of what is happening in the mortgage world, because it's changing every day. So, and that obviously the ability to borrow money is directly related to home sales and how that all works out. But, you know, anyway, that would be my main focus, but there's certainly others.
Yeah. No, I agree. And just for anybody that's not completely familiar, jumbo loans, again, vary by county as to what that number is. I think in Medfield, it's what, 650, 670?
I think it's, well, again, it's changing every day, but it's lower than that. But that's why I would talk to the mortgage broker and just make sure that they can kind of fine tune it. Because the other part that's changed with jumbos is the interest rates have gone up, and also the down payment requirements have increased. And so what used to be a really good, affordable way to get into some of the more expensive homes is now less attractive. But again, I don't want to give any information. You know, you should really talk to a mortgage broker to get the specifics.
Yeah. No, good tip though, just to know that it is changing so frequently that it's something to check in on a regular basis. So even if you were pre-approved a month or two ago and you've been searching and still searching, definitely touch base with your lender again and just sort of see what the latest is. And then, you know, lending goes right into pricing. And I know you talked about this earlier too, but that's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. A lot of people have been asking, you know, well, maybe I shouldn't buy right now. Maybe I should put my search on hold. Maybe I'm going to get a great deal coming down the pike. The truth is, nobody's got a crystal ball. Nobody can tell you what's going to happen with prices. You know, everybody likes to think that they can forecast sort of what's going to happen. All we can do is kind of talk about where we've been the last few months and what we're currently seeing. So I think that, as you mentioned, you know, prices are holding pretty firm. What are your thoughts on that?
A former manager of mine once said, the best time to buy real estate is right now. And the reason for that is because the future is, you don't know. You have no idea. You don't know if the market's going to go down. You don't know if the market's going to go up. Nobody expected or anticipated this whole scenario. And so therefore, you know, people that were on the fence a couple of months ago might be kicking themselves, you know, for not making a move sooner. Or maybe if you're of a different mentality, maybe you're seeing this as the opportunity to kind of get into the game. Again, I think that, you know, pricing is so important because there are so many unknowns. When we give, you know, a market analysis and we try to come up with an estimate of value, that is like, we factor in what is happening in the market today. And even though sometimes sellers may have a sort of a higher number in mind, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. And there is a detriment to being on the market for too long. And that can then work against you negatively. So we've seen that so many times, you know. But so pricing, and then, you know, again, just trying to have the best marketing and unique and creative approaches to, you know, sort of things that we do every day to kind of highlight properties and show them in different ways where we're limited sort of in terms of the tools that we have. But it's really just been kind of a shift. And I feel lucky that, you know, we've been able to kind of move with that shift as opposed to kind of getting swept over or trying to play catch up. So that's all been good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a really great point. You know, especially having the real estate marketing background that I have, I'm really kind of excited for this next chapter because I'm interested to see how people take this and what the industry starts doing in involving, I mean, digital platform has always been involved in some element, but, you know, I would say the residential real estate world has been pretty traditional, you know, I mean, still doing the Matterport tours, that kind of thing, still doing, you know, the still photography, swipe through, that's all been around for a while. So it'll be interesting to see how people, especially the ones that are a little more tech adapt, start folding in some of these newer platforms and how it really elevates the presence of different properties. So
I would like to point out too, once in my life have I sold a house without the buyer actually being in the house. And last week, our co-teammate Sarah Sheehan, she did the same thing. She actually got a house under agreement that
I heard that.
Yeah, they haven't even been in the house. So
Yeah.
now that's where like a good home inspector and that kind of thing makes a really, really good, makes a big difference, in having a good realtor on your side,
Yeah.
who can get through a house or whatever, you know, to kind of preview it is important as well. But anyway,
Yeah.
lots of ways to buy houses, and we're happy to show you all of them.
Yeah, yeah. So I think in general, just to recap, moving forward, we're going to be focused on financing, sort of what's happening on a day-to-day basis, what's changing, what's the latest, and we'll try to keep everybody apprised of that. We'll be talking about pricing, what we're seeing in real time, and any trends and kind of what seems to be happening in the market, and marketing, how people are starting to fold in some different techniques, and what we're doing on the Walsh team as well too.
Right. And I would like people to give us a call. Feel free to reach out to us if you have questions on any of those things.
Yeah.
We can't give away all of our marketing secrets, because then everybody would have them. But you know, every house is different. And I think the approach that we take is different as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's sort of how we go about it.
Great. Excellent. All right. Well, hopefully some folks found this beneficial, but I was glad we got the opportunity to chat about kind of the market before COVID, what we were seeing, what we, have seen in the past couple of weeks, with all of this, these new changes and everything, and then kind of what we're looking for ahead. So I'm excited to kind of keep tabs on things, and we'll keep chatting.
Sounds good. We'll see everybody soon.
All right. Thanks, Evan.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.